well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest secret that we have spilled here, Avi. I got the opportunity to attend the World Design Congress. People pay at least few hundred pounds for it, and I got to attend it, sit in those intellectual conversations just because I approached as a volunteer. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, the next one.
Ham and cheese. So the example of this one is I was having some building work done and I like to cook and I like to, people that are in your home, I wanted to make them at least, kind of make their day a little bit better. And so I was like, I could make these artisanal sandwiches and I was giving them like all these options. And they said, Amy, what's wrong with ham and cheese? And it always struck me and it hit me in a way, and it's come back to projects I've seen that I've done in terms of innovation, is we sometimes want to have the artisanal options and we really push for like the most forward-thinking idea, but a lot of companies that we work with still are very much ham and cheese. And sometimes innovation and shifts and moves actually can also sometimes be a little quote unquote basic. So in trying to over dazzle, which I think sometimes we have a challenge with, if you can figure out the kind of bread that exists within a company, what is the cheese? It doesn't mean that your skill set isn't being utilized. It's actually being able to read the room better is such an important thing. And I can give you an example. As I worked on a project around dark chocolate, and it was all around pushing it into the US market, which was it's very much a milk chocolate market for a really long time. This is quite a few years ago. We went into people's homes, we looked into their secret drawers, we created 25 different options of what we could do for chocolate. And so we were testing out all these, and the focus groups came back with like, what's wrong with salt? Like, why don't we just put some salt in with the dark chocolate? Well, guess what? It took 4 years for the machines to ever be able to take salt within production. So something that may seem like not even revolutionary actually was. So that's my example of a ham and cheese project where sometimes the simplest answer is sometimes the best one.
Very true. Okay, the next one. Know your tools. So if you imagine your career as a Lego art piece, it can grow taller, it can go wider, it can now turn out to be geometric or a little more abstract over time. But none of this expansion would matter if the foundations aren't strong. Your foundation is your toolkit, the frameworks you understand deeply, the methodologies you have practiced enough to know why they work, your awareness of biases, your guardrails, core values, non negotiables. They are all lenses. The stronger your foundations, the more confidently you can experiment at the top. When you truly understand your tools, you don't get swayed easily by trends. You don't adopt methods blindly. You choose them intentionally. And a few examples for this was I believe during my time at RCA, I was looking at a lot of planet centricity approach methods like using biographies or active mapping canvas. They all ended up becoming my strong suites. They all also became how I was identified by my peers or my professors. And all my answers to why. So I was approached when it comes to planet centricity, and thus your toolkits in a way become your foundational blocks. And indeed, over time, it begins to reflect what your true essence is, how you think, what you prioritize, and what kind of professional you're becoming over time. That's for me.
Love it. The plain test. I mean, organically, with gratitude to Shaivi for the rhythm of this. So I love frameworks. Frameworks are important for a foundation. Know the foundation, then you can break the foundation. But you first need to know the rules before you can break the rules. And once you've figured out, then you have to then rejig to make sure that it matches an audience. So I call this the plain test, is I created a framework in which I explain how I see trends, and it's based on speed. And I use shooting stars for micro trends, constellations for macro trends, um, new planets for mega trends, and underexplored universes for multiverse trends. And so this helps the client I'm working with, first of all, understand the speed in which they operate internally, but then it also enabled me to teach 85 different people in 65 countries so that we all spoke the same language. And then I can go to a client and I can say, Are you needing campaign signals for the project we're working on? Okay, well, then we're going to focus on shooting stars. Are you creating a new product? Well, then we're going to bring you constellations. Are you creating a brand new neighborhood? Well, then underexplored universe, because we have to think more further into the future. So once we understand speed, but I wanted to test this first. So I talk to people all the time. And so I started to show this example to people in lines in a plane. And they're like, oh, it makes sense. And I was like, great. Other people call this the mom test, but my mom's crazy. So I call it the plane test.
I like the plain test more.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask before you assume. Assumptions are efficient, but they are often wrong. And for someone we are still learning, we are still understanding the landscape, I think asking questions does take courage and it requires you to admit that you don't know something. But that admission is not weakness, it's a discipline. In early career stages, especially, you're surrounded by complexities, organizational dynamics, unwritten rules, stakeholder motivations, system constraints, endless loops. So if you assume, you operate on incomplete information. If you ask, you operate on clarity. And there's a privilege in not knowing everything. That is the beauty of it. So, good questions like what are we solving? Who benefits? Who might be excluded? What constraints are we not seeing? These are something I often see myself asking. And these questions rather accelerate the alignment with the project or with the work you're doing. They build trust. Often, one thoughtful question shifts the entire direction of a project or how you look at it. And again, curiosity signals engagement, and thoughtful inquiry earns respect far faster than just silently guessing over things. Yeah,
Community is your currency. So it is an investment, and I do genuinely think of it, and it's good to label it as an investment because then it actually puts weight in it. So there are moments in time where I have made commercial choices to either not do a project or I over-index in a lot of my day-to-day in a lot of non-paid work. So I do a quarterly event called Futures Friends. I write a lot on LinkedIn. I do monthly breakfasts. I do this major mega trend file thing every year. These are all time, energy, enthusiasm things. Um, but in that, I've gotten to connect and build community, support community. And so that currency, when I've needed it and I've had to withdraw, has been there. But if you think of it in that way, you will start to assess some of the monetary decisions that you make in terms of, again, back to that need working thing. That comes, there's a deficit in the bank account in that instance. But I've always said this when things went really, really rough with my crazy family, as I alluded to, and I had to withdraw. Guess what? I like had stocks. I had millions in stocks because I'd been investing for decades.
definitely true. So true. Okay, share before it's perfect. Now, this one stands true to any professional across any time of like experience, age, place. And this is something I've been struggling as well. It's important to realize that no one has the ability to read your mind. So even if you've built a strong network, even if people are willing to help you, they cannot support work they have never seen. So articulation matters. When you share your work early, you invite discussion, you invite critic, you invite refinement, you increase your surface area for opportunities. And thus, I really, really hope that you don't fall into the IK effect or something like sunken cost fallacy when your project, your work becomes so priceless, like a baby to you, that you are so afraid of putting it out there in the world. So just because you've built something doesn't mean it's beyond improvement. Just because you've invested time doesn't mean it cannot evolve. Thus, attachment can limit growth, and shelling early builds that resilience. It strengthens your thinking, it allows your work to improve in public, not in isolation. And over time, who knows, your work begins to speak for you.
Just to build on that one for a second, is with the community as currency, by showing your process and kind of I'm just thinking about this idea, you then have built-in cheerleaders. So it doesn't feel as scary to put something out in the world because you already have the support network there, there is an orchestra that will show up. And those hard moments when you literally climb mountains and you can feel the mountain, when you learn a new skill or you do something that makes you so deeply uncomfortable, there will be somebody that shows up that recognizes that that was a hard climb, either because they've been there or you've cheered for them too. So just wanted to share on the importance of that perfection.
Yeah, definitely.
If you are at the table, pull up another chair. This is really important. And this is one of the joyous things of why I love this so much. This is very much a global initiative. We can feel that in the room, who's been in the speakers. I figured this out last year that 90% of trend reports come from 10 cities. It's a fact that really surprises no one, in the fact that, New York and London tend to still be the classic area in which strategic futures kind of projects itself outward. The As you rise in your career, you will start to move up into different rooms. The makeup of who you become present to means that you are at a table, and sometimes you aren't the right person to be at that table. So I can give you an example of, I worked on the young VNA, and I worked on the VNA East and their audience strategy, and how do we redefine, first of all, a young museum. This is in London, that, you know, as I looked into the makeup of the neighborhood, there's a huge proportion of people from Bangladesh within East London. That childhood was not represented within the museum itself. So I wasn't the right voice to bring in what that childhood needs to look like. That's my role, to bring a chair in and say, this person needs to then sit at the table as well. And so I'm always looking to see, am I the right representative to speak about this issue, or do I bring somebody else in who's better suited? And I recently was somebody from university asked me to speak at their high school class, like a guidance council kind of class. And they asked me the hardest questions I'd ever been asked. They were amazing. Like, why do you as a white woman think that you can talk about culture? I was like, bring it to me. Like, yes, for the hard questions. I loved it. And that was one of the things I said, that it was very much my job to, open up more chairs. And I know where the limitations of my lived experience are, and evolving and always learning. And that's the whole point too. Over to you.
This is one of my favorite ones, Amy. Okay, the next one. Be intentional about what you consume. In 2024, the World Economic Forum identified misinformation and disinformation as one of the biggest threats to humanity for the coming decade. And if you look at it in a way, this doesn't only operate at a geopolitical level, it operates personally as well. What you consume shapes what you believe. What you believe shapes how you work, how you design stuff, how you think about futures, and how you do those things also shapes the future you are enabling as an individual. So, yes, your curiosities matter, your sources matter much more. The people you intellectually exchange ideas with also matter. These can be your friends, your peers, your mentors. They all mold the person you're becoming. Your mind is not a storage unit, it's a living ecosystem. So then you need to be mindful of what it houses. Just to give a little example, when 2 years ago, when generative AI was booming, I had a friend who I would have daily conversation with, and he was super enthusiastic about AI. And just by having intellectual debates with him about AI, exponentially enabled or deepened my understanding of AI and the way I started using it, and that got me that beginner's advantage. So yes, your friends, what kind of topics you discuss and what kind of information you're gaining is very very important. So yes, be a little selective, be intentional, and guard your inputs very very carefully. The brain is a beautiful source. Take care of it.
Love it. Plan for the number 11, plan for the dating, wedding, and the divorce. So I'll give you a real example is I'm recently on a project, and we dated so well. We pitched together. We had the most amazing beginning. We had the wedding. The wedding went well in terms of the project. The project is now overrun by 2 months. We are nowhere near an ending. I want a divorce. The divorce is important in negotiating. because you need to also figure out the endings of things. We sometimes can get so excited about a project and that, oh my gosh, we're going to work with this like brand and it's going to be on my portfolio. But if you do not have clear sense of what values you bring in, what values they bring in, there can be an imbalance. And by not talking about the clear sense of where this project was going to end, we put ourselves in a disservice where we are no longer in like it might end badly. And that's the sad thing. And it didn't need to end badly because we dated so well in the beginning, but we didn't plan for the divorce. And this is a perfect lesson in that I just learned this. And I have not always been very good with clear terms of my value and how I express it. And so I've been in many, many divorces. And part of that is because I get so excited when I'm dating and the wedding. And so then why am I shocked that when the divorce happens that I'm ill-advised, I'm off put. And so why I point this out for twofold is you will always continue to learn throughout your career, but you have to take the lesson forward. Guess what? I will create better terms, ending terms for the next project I'm on. And I will be as excited as always. This is the thing I will also say when you're pitching for something, be as excited as you can be. You can recoup energy, but also plan for the ending as well.
Very powerful. Okay, the next one from me is zoom out, then do something small. Before I even get into this, I think one of the many reasons RCS Design Futures was such a well designed program is because so early on, right in our first module, we were introduced to systems thinking. And that shed light for me on this entire concept of understanding systems in a holistic manner, specifically when you're training yourself to be someone. Look at a career in foresight and futures, right? So many of the problems we work on are not simple, they are systematic, they are layered, they are what we call wicked problems. If you zoom in too quickly, you're going to risk solving symptoms. And if you zoom out, you're going to risk a paralysis of not understanding the system well. So the discipline is to do both. Understand the ecosystem, rather zoom out first. Understand the ecosystem, the stakeholders, the incentives, the unintended consequences, the historical context, and then ask yourself what system is this sitting inside? And then zoom in. Find the leverage point when you can contribute meaningfully, find the constraints you can realistically influence, find the interventions that align with the tools that you might be using, and then system thinking without execution is, in a way, abstraction. So, execution without systems thinking is also short sightedness. So, then the sweet little balance spot is when you practice both. Your work becomes a little more precise, a little better informed, and you are focused, but in a very responsible way. And this kind of balance is what separates just surface level contributions in your work, in your projects at uni, to more strategic, impactful, more satisfying outputs. That was for me.
As you climb up, open doors and windows. Shaivi is a perfect example right here. With and the learning goes both ways with this, but this is different than a seat at the table. Windows and doors enable others to walk in, and the other one is about you're already in the room. But by opening doors and windows, it's more about the possibility of what could happen. It requires a sense, and I've talked about this with others. I really do believe in endless pie. I really do. Once you look into that mentality, you stop looking at it with scarcity in an industry in which that focuses a lot on scarcity, a lot on competition. Like a core center point of why Futures Friends is such a joyous thing, we just had one on Friday, is because it's cheerleader energy, it's show up energy, it's I'm here to hear what you are curious about, which isn't competitive. People introduce themselves as their first name, not the company in which they work with. All of these things are so important. And so as you climb up, you know, say yes to the coffee. I still say yes to asks. But one lesson I will tell you, and this is a secret thing, and I did write this once as a LinkedIn post, is 80% of people that I mentor do not say thank you. And the two out of the 10 that do have, kept the door open. Because if you keep the door open, you could come back for this follow-up question. You can revisit. I can see your growth patterns. I can, but by not saying thank you, first of all, it's not acknowledge. I'm always shocked by it because it takes time. There is a time, again, back to our currency of time and community. But I just see a different light in those two, and they've gone further in their career every single time. So actually, for me, it is a benchmark of success is the ability to do a good follow-up.
Very true. Okay. Making tech your thinking and teaching partner. I cannot press more effort on the importance of being friends with technology. Yes, technological advancements can feel overwhelming, specifically in an year like 2026, where we have AI, automation, simulations, new designs tools, and it all moves very fast. But when you stop viewing tech as a threat and start seeing it as a facilitator, you realize how privileged we are to have it at our disposal. Technology can deepen your knowledge, it can diversify your exposure, it can challenge your assumptions, it can even sharpen your thinking. So you can use AI to stress test your ideas. You can use your digital tools to prototype faster. Use edtech platforms to expand beyond your discipline. There is anything and everything that is possible if you're open to experimenting, understanding, and giving tech a little chance. The key here is intentionality. Know why you're using that tool. Know which all tools you should know, and again, why. Be wise about what you use and how you use it, and then technology indeed should enhance your thinking and not replace it. That's a little thin line. It's like a semi-permeable membrane, which you need to be very careful of. It should indeed expand your capabilities and not dull your discriminant. So yeah, when used well, tech becomes both your teacher and your collaborator. There are numerous examples, and when I that I can share right now, numerous freelance opportunities that I've got, specifically in a market like today's in London, is because I have, in a way, pitched myself as someone who knows tech, who can use AI, who can use other design and futures tools, scenario mapping tools, etc. So, yes, please, 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 as humans, use tech for as many times as you want. And as a collaborator, not just with your human collaborators, but also as a non human collaborator, and see the magic of it, see where it takes you.
Can
Thank
I
you.
add two things on it? Because I
Yep.
100% agree, but also use pen and paper
Yeah.
and also use a walk in the beach because I've solved so many things by either stepping away from technology to just have the break to figure out where that problem is, or playing and brain dancing in my own brain. And if you go first to tech, sometimes you can there is a reliance. You gotta like figure out what you like and what you don't like first too. And I do, as we are like in beginning stages of careers, it's like the thing that will make you, that is gonna like grow you, is your storytelling ability, your ability to pick up signals that only you saw. And so if we rely an over reliance on tech, then it's your signature can be lost in the mix. So the balance, both are so vital.
Definitely. And yeah, I think that there's something I need to share here is as students or as just early career professionals, if you're getting new assignments, new problem statements, new work, that brain tingling sensation when you're like figuring out and trying to understand how do you approach this, you miss on that if you just straight away put that problem statement into an AI tool. So as a personal rule, I always make sure, as Amy said, starting with a pen and paper, how well am I understanding the problem and what do I think I should be doing? And just using tech as a facilitator on the way, fact checking, quick research, anything it would be. Also, just as humans, we all have a little moral compass. Just keep sure you have the compass on and running, and you should be good. Yes.
Awesome. And also it's a way of future-proofing yourself. So for instance, I know somebody that recently had hired a junior and they only used AI to solve the problem. And they went, I'm hired this person for their perspective. If I needed that, I would have just hired, I just would have used the tool myself. And if we're trying to make sure that we have an industry that has varied age groups and backgrounds and entry points, don't rely on it so much that it could replace you. There
Yep.
is a balance.
True.
I mean, as I said, your weird is your wonder. You are literally the most vital asset you own. And, you know, I'm, I mean, what is my weirdness? My weirdness is I share the hard stuff. I'm willing to, I did a post once that was like literally the most viral thing I'd ever done. It was that this summer I took parental leave, not for a child, but for an aging parent. And I think if we're willing to put our own selves first in our stories, it does make a huge difference. And I was recently, this happened last year, and it still creeps me out. But somebody created an AI model called Amy, and they used my data, including my tone of voice, and the trend reports to create a me without permission, which in itself was odd, and then told me about it, which in itself was odd. And the thing about it is, I said to them, I was like, "You think that I got hired for my data, but no, I get hired because I ask how their divorce is going." So know that humanness, that way you talk, you ask the question in that way, that weirdness, that's that point of view. That is the thing that will keep you in this game longer than anything. So I own it. I don't hide it. I seek it out. I look for the weirdos. Once you meet them, that also becomes your community again, which is your currency.
So true. Wow.
And Shaivi's weird. And I really like her.
Yeah. Okay. The next one from me is build work that outlives the job. As someone who is just barely starting, taking baby steps, I often see it as a responsibility to look at to do things based off what my 2040 version would think of the actions I'm taking right now. I want to do things that the decisions I am making suffice the future version of me. Now, this particular thing will barely happen if you are just doing the bare minimum. And it will happen more so when you're taking a few extra steps. Now, what do I mean by this? Is that, let's say, if you are doing an assignment which has you developing speculative work, then why not also consider unintended consequences? If you're designing, let's say, for humans, then please go ahead and document the impact on non-human species. If you're building a product, ideations, reflect on the resource implications of it. So again, going back to the systems thinking, think holistically. And when you work considering systems, ethics, long-term impact, even in your little assignments, which might never see the day of light outside your laptop, it still becomes bigger than the job description or just an assignment. And eventually it becomes part of your professional legacy, the way you work. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool.
I mean, symbiotic. So leave it better than you came. It's so important. I have worked in this industry long enough, 20 years, to know that I've always wanted it to look different than the industry in which I came into. Um, I actively look again for voices that are different than my own, and try and highlight them. I've done a culture connectors, which was based on that, and the goal of that is to really hero out postcode bias in how we pay, but also in how we seek out knowledge. Um, and I think we are better when the outside world is reflected in the inside. I mean, you know, campaigns look different, neighborhoods make more sense. Um, but it is actively up to us to you have a vote. We all have a vote. And your career is also a vote. We spend so much time within it. And, there are things that I ethically do not do. There are certain career like categories in which I will not work in. But I also will school people. So I believe you should pay experts. And to this day, sometimes when I am, asked to do something free, I will say, how can I accept this if I tell everyone else not to? So I will like school the schooler sometimes as to why that needs to be done. So it really is our duty to leave it better than we came, and we all have a vote in how that happens.
Definitely, yes. Okay, yeah. Stay humble and be grounded. This is something that one of my mentors told me a few years ago, and they were like, "Hey, your biggest challenge is going to be the balance between underconfidence and overconfidence." And this is something over time I realized was so important. And thus I decided to share it today. There is a fine line between underconfidence and arrogance. If you have self doubt, it stops you from contributing. And if you have a lot of overconfidence, it stops you from listening. And in a way, both limit your growth. So I think we should all respect those who are ahead of you and learn from our peers and then just stay open. At the same time, you should know your strengths. You don't have to be very selfless. You should know what your perspective is. You should know what makes you distinct. So in a way, humility is not shrinking yourself. It is more so recognizing that you are always learning, and staying grounded allows you to grow without losing yourself. And in specifically a fast moving industry like ours, the groundedness becomes like a quiet advantage because you're listening constantly and you know what your true strengths are. So yeah, stay humble, please.
Can I add one thing on that one? Is that when I started my career, why like Shavy knows this in like I see sparks of her that was very much my energy when I was like really starting out was like the asking and the knocking on doors and like I did a lot of crazy things. In that boldness, not everyone will like you. That's just the truth. Not everyone is gonna appreciate your ness. Um, and the right ones will get it, and it's okay. It's okay for the other ones that just won't. And there was this class of this woman. There was this woman whose name is Debbie Millman, well worth looking up. She's like an icon within the design world. And I wanted to meet her. I wanted to meet her. And so I wrote her 6 times and we were at a conference together and I sent her the notes because she left early. And her PA wrote me was like, Amy, you have to stop. Like you get 30 minutes with her and then like that's it. And I met with her and we clicked right away. She got it. And I ended up auditing her class and I got some of the best lessons of my life from taking this class at SVA every night for an entire semester. She let me audit it. But I was the example for class. She was so close to the line. And so I didn't, if I had been too humble, I would have stopped at email too. But find the balance. And she was like, "You're getting creepy." Like, but I'm like, "But I'm here." So, so you're always play with the balance is what I'm trying to say with this one.
Very true.
Marathon running over sprints. You know, there is this sense of that there's this time limit on a career, but the reality is we're going to have to work for most of our lives. And my value at 45 matters just as much as Shavi's value at 25. We just had her birthday. Um, and I have done projects with clients that I was a conversation that was from 10 years earlier. And so I'm willing to invest in the long run. That's why I don't come off so creepy when I'm having like a new biz kind of thing or a new connection because I'm not looking for it to like make sense tomorrow. That's again where that endless pie also comes in. If you also only project your energy for sprints, you will burn out. So you have to think of this as training. You this is a career built on wonder and curiosity, and that curiosity will shape and evolve in different ages. And the thing I always say is like, I still have to do youth culture stuff, but I'm no longer youth. but I still have the curiosity of youth culture. It was probably easier when I was 25 to know what was going on with 25-year-olds, but like I think there's kudos that at 45 I'm still interested in what's going on when you're 25. So that's what I mean about marathon. This is a, a career to build muscle stamina for the long run. That's how you retain. It means that you don't get distracted so much by the person running in the race with you. You cheer on the person. You sometimes help pick up that person too. That's again where community comes in and your network. Something that I always really loved was I went to FIT in New York, and during the first assembly ever, they said, "Look to your left and look to your right. This is your network." Um, and it's true. You know, there are people that I've worked with most of my career. So, you know, key lessons on this is build your stamina, build your muscle retention. Your muscle retention is your curiosity. Um, burnout will happen, and that's called rest. That's where your water breaks. You need to have water breaks too. But if you think of everything as a sprint and that you have to solve everything by 30, you know, the somebody said this to me once and I always loved it, is she wanted to write a book by the time she was 30, and actually the better book came when she was 35. You know, if you leave space for when the thing is supposed to happen, it will organically happen much better. That's mine.
Yes, just ping pong on the same concept of marathon, and you build your immunity up when you are consistent. I have been, or maybe I'm still that kind of person. I want quick results. In a way, I want to achieve everything. I'm like, hey, and at times I feel like, oh my God, I'm already 25 and haven't done anything. No, that's not a right way of thinking. Consistency is very important. I would rather invite you to come in and experience the beauty of being consistent. We maybe like through social media platforms like or career platforms like LinkedIn, we often see uh, breakthroughs being glorified. We often see big promotions, big publications, big wins, big milestones being celebrated. But what you miss seeing is the consistency behind being the main reason that created it. And consistency sounds like a big word, but it actually comes in little habits, in everyday thinking, in how you show up consistently every time. It is kind of less dramatic and it is much more powerful than the word it seems. So yeah, if I think every time I've been a little more consistent with my efforts, the learnings have compounded. When I've been a little more interactive with more people, the exchanges that have happened, the conversations have insanely been crazier. So yeah, just be a little consistent, even in your everyday standards, even in what are your bare minimum skills, and your identity will strengthen. So yeah, I think it is important to envision and to guarantee a long-term career that you be consistent and run that marathon, not look for small sprints. Look at those hurdles and keep running. And over time, who knows, we might just unlock a new level of our existence, and but rather one that is built on self-belief, being consistent, being disciplined, and not just small sparks of motivation. I've this is one of my big goals for 2026, and to be honest, 2 months in, it is kind of working in my favor. So yes, please be consistent.
I cannot tell you how important it is for career identity, consistency. You become, if you are consistent with things, you become known for that thing. The trend file is a perfect example where 40,000 people accessed it last year, and it was the fifth year we did it. We consistently showed up. Futures Friends is once every quarter, and these things mean that people can count on you for something. And there's somebody I know, she's doing too much. And so to the point where on April Fools, she was like, I'm starting a coffee shop. And I like believed it, because she focused more on the like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, that you don't know what is consistently the thing that somebody will be called on. It's also your opportunity to become consistent on the things that you want to work on, and putting that out in the world too. But we have some lessons, then we want to get to know you. Our key takeaways,
Hmm.
the importance of connecting. Look at we're a prime example of this. Sharing the stage, sharing the spotlight, sharing the screen, sharing ideas. All of those things are really vital. And then open your mind, open your ability to, express new tools and new frameworks, doors and windows. These are things we hope we leave you with.
Indeed.
Wave our
Yes.
way if you want to, and then with gratitude, and we're open for questions.
Thank you so much.
Now we'll look at you. We only have a few minutes, but if you have any questions, we'd love to get to know what you have to think.
Let me stop sharing. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
I do have a question. I think my question is, what would you there first of all, every single one of those I was eating up. It just wonderful.
Thank
Um,
you.
what would you tell youth on how to start? Because there are 20. What would be your advice?
Shaivi, you go first.
Uh, Firstly, do a little bit of introspection, understand what you really, really want. At times, we really find ourselves in a tsunami of different events, trends, of what our peers are doing. Peer pressure is something that is still building up. I think the things that have worked out the best for me is when I first identified, hey, this works for me. I know it's not very similar to what my friends are doing, but it's fine. This brings me joy. I gain a little purpose driven satisfaction from it. So, yes, please introspect a little. And then, to be very honest, find the right mentors. We at times think that once we have cracked it, we know everything. I think the best networking, even before coming to London, was through using platforms like ADP List, where I've just had amazing conversations with people, and that opened my understanding, my brain to the entire world. So, yes, please just do these two things, very inward and very outward. Amy, over to you.
Yeah. I now look back on my 20-year-old self because there was an element of privilege with this because I did 6 internships for free in a time where now I think that we should be paid. I waitressed in the summer in order to circumvent that, and I was an RA, so I found ways in which I could take that financial hit for the experience. But in all of the times I went into an opportunity to figure out, do I want to work within PR? Like, do I learned more about what I didn't want to do. And it's a nice time of life where you can say no. You're not beholden to all this, and there's so many elements. I don't work in fashion because I did a lot of internships to know that I was not an industry in which I wanted to be part of. And that came from exploring through work experience to know that. Um, it is also a magic time to just knock on a door and say, like, I have some questions. Use that leverage. I'm a new graduate. I did that all the time, and I made Rice Krispie sushi. I did this crazy thing where I would hand deliver to people I wanted to meet, and it opened up all these doors. So the boldness and the weirdness, I think learn that signature young because that's the thing that will carry you literally throughout your whole career.
Excellent advice. Thank you.
Any other questions? It can also be a Sunday of just listening. I mean, I can say that this was joyous to do together. I mean, I think it was a perfect complementary of showing we can still learn from each other. So really with gratitude for, setting a precedent to say that, we needed to have both perspectives in our pitch. Oh, we can tell you have a nice rapport. Oh, we're friends.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's been joyous to get to know. It was wonderful. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks so much, guys. And then if you have any questions, you can drop us a note. We love when things get related. Awesome. Elise, what do you think of seeing your student?
I mean, both of you are full of great advice. But sometimes I can't believe that Shaivi's just finished school and she has all this wisdom. It's so nice.
Thank you so much. It's
And
all because of you. Yeah, all of you.
no, I mean, I wrote down everything you said, and then I'm thinking, how do you remember, how do you stay on top of these things? We all get so busy. Do you just keep going back to these lessons?
Uh, I mean, if I had to answer first, I think having a little diary helps. Maybe at the end of the week or at the end of a busy day, just reflecting on a few things. Or first thing in the morning when you're anxious about how the rest of the week is looking. And then, yeah, that in a way just pulls you back to what actually matters.
For me, the divorce as language and like I was like I've been the world has been teaching me this lesson for most of my career, and I just listened to it.
Mm,
By working on this presentation, I was able to put language to where there was the mix, where there was the hurt, where things stopped working correctly. And so that very much is a lesson I will carry forward to the next project and relationship. So I would say sometimes they get lived in your body and you just go like, I don't want this feeling anymore. Um, but then also like about the pulling the table up to a chair, that took time. That took time to have a voice to be able to say, I'm not the right person for this. And actually, I do know the right person, which came to network and community, and knowing abundance to go like, I'm going to pass this on to somebody else who it's better suited for, and there will be something else for me. All of those, I'd say the 10 I shared are probably pretty interlinked. You know, there's some consistency, but they were earned and learned
Mhm.
on repeat.
And
just one
then,
quick thing I want to add, as just a
Thank you,
token of
Christine.
gratitude, would be that as someone who is young, and thank you so much to all of you who are way ahead in your careers for facilitating these sessions, for attending,
Yeah.
organizing these. I think we are on the most beneficial side of things where it's like you are taking part in an American Ninja challenge, and there is someone already telling you what the hurdles are, what the obstacles are, and then you're more prepared. So, yes, it is a very, very, very exceptionally important opportunity to be in such rooms. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Awesome.
thank you so much for a wonderful session. Truly enlightening. And once again, I loved it. And I'm sure everybody else did as well. I am going to turn us over now to Ellie, and she is going to close us out.
Perfect.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Shaivi and Amy, for the inspiring session. I really enjoyed learning about all these life lessons that I find very important. Moving on to our wrap up. As we wrap up this inspiring session, thank you all for being a part of World Futures Day, Young Voices. Your perspectives and participation have made this conversation truly meaningful. The journey doesn't end here. New facilitators and fresh conversations begin at the top of each hour. You are welcome to stay and continue exploring future possibilities with us. Some quick announcements. If you enjoyed today, this kind of learning doesn't stop here. It continues through the Teach the Future Global Online Youth Futures community. Right now, we are offering the following learning experiences. Campaigns for Change builds award-winning projects using futures literacy skills. Join Young Voices FutureWise Institute. We apply these learnings directly to your active projects and future initiatives. As part of World Futures Day, there is a special discount code to register. If you're not ready to take part in a learning experience yet, you can still stay connected. We'd love to hear about your experience, share your feedback, and receive your badge of participation. Please fill out our survey. I'll share the links in the chat now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Our session will close on its own in 1 minute, 13 seconds, or you can go to the leave room button on the bottom right-hand side, but make sure you don't click the leave the whole platform button.
Got it.
Thank you again. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.